I didn't know the hotel staff were allowed to mingle tonight. Oh dear, did you get lost on your way to the kitchen? As we dive into this story, don't forget to like and tell us where you're watching from in the comments. If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe for more powerful ones. The invitation came in a cream-colored envelope with gold lettering. No greeting, no personalization, just a date, time, and location for the Blackwell International Gala. The kind of event where fortunes were flaunted, alliances were forged, and people like Selah were never supposed to show up. She stood outside the towering glass building, the hum of expensive engines pulling into valet behind her. Her dress was simple, black silk, tailored but not designer. The heels, scuffed at the bottom. Hair in a neat bun. No diamonds. No assistant. No fanfare. Just Selah. As she stepped through the rotating doors into the chandelier-lit atrium, heads began to turn. Not in admiration, but in confusion. And judgment. Who is she with? She doesn't even have a name badge. Security should probably check credentials. No one said it outright. But they didn't have to. Selah felt every stare, the way people adjusted their posture when she passed, the way their voices dropped, the way some clutched their purses tighter. She moved past the champagne tower and into the ballroom, where laughter floated like perfume and silver trays danced through the crowd. She had barely made it to the corner of the room when someone bumped into her hard from behind. A sharp voice followed. "Watch where you're." The woman stopped mid-sentence, sizing her up with a sneer. Then, as if it were a joke, she turned to her friends, all in matching designer gowns. "I didn't know the hotel staff were allowed to mingle tonight," one giggled. Another stepped forward with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh dear, did you get lost on your way to the kitchen?" Selah said nothing. She just gave the softer smile and took a sip of her water. But that wasn't enough. One of the women, red dress, perfectly curled blonde hair, leaned in a little too close and whispered, "You know this is a private gala, right? For people who matter." Then came the moment. It wasn't subtle. A deliberate hand, a clumsy twist of the wrist, and just like that, a full glass of red wine tumbled onto Selah's black silk dress. Gasps echoed. But no one moved to help. "Oh my God," the woman said, feigning shock. "I'm so clumsy." Laughter erupted behind her like a cue line had been delivered. And Selah. She just stood there, wine dripping down her dress. Her hands steady, her face unreadable. A waiter offered her a napkin, more out of obligation than empathy. She took it, dabbed her dress gently, and gave the woman a long, unreadable look. No yelling. No scene. Just a quiet calm that unnerved them more than any raised voice ever could. "Do you need help finding the exit?" one of the women mocked, now emboldened by the silence. Selah glanced around. Their world, all glitter and greed, pulsed around her like a stage. And as the orchestra swelled in the background, and another round of champagne was served, she stood straighter. "I think I'll stay," she said softly. "I haven't seen enough yet." They laughed again. But something flickered in Selah's eyes. Not hurt. Not humiliation. Strategy. And in that moment, they had no idea that the woman they just tried to erase was the one person who held the fate of their precious little world in her hands. An hour passed. The ballroom buzzed with chatter and shallow smiles. Waiters weaved through the crowd with flutes of champagne and tiny plated delicacies no one ever finished. A jazz trio played softly in the corner, the notes elegant, forgettable. And Selah. She stayed. The wine stain had dried slightly, a red shadow smeared across black silk. But she didn't leave. Didn't flinch. She moved through the room like she had every right to be there. Because she did. But they didn't know that yet. At the far end of the hall, under a wall of cascading orchids, stood the circle, the inner ring of wealth and influence. Board members. Investors. CEOs. Venture capitalists. And among them was Elliot Blackwell, the host of the gala. Oil fortune. Tech disruptor. Vanity magazine cover darling. He didn't notice her at first. Not until he caught a glimpse of her standing quietly near the art installation, examining a sculpture with the eyes of someone who understood it, not just someone pretending to. His brow furrowed. "Is that?" Before he could finish, his wife leaned in and whispered, Just some staff who wandered in. We're handling it. Elliot's eyes narrowed. She doesn't look like staff. One of the others laughed. She certainly isn't a donor. She's been standing around all night like she's casing the place. Elliot stuttered her again. There was something familiar. But he was distracted. Someone from the Singapore office pulled him away to discuss a deal. And so, Selah stood there, still, steady, patient. She watched them. Each smirk, each dismissive glance, every handshake that came with a hidden knife. They didn't know who she was. They didn't remember the pitch meeting 2 years ago, the day she walked into Elliot's boardroom with a proposal that could have saved their crumbling international branch. They dismissed her then too. Too bold. Too young. Too not one of them. They never returned her call. But Selah had built anyway. Quietly. Strategically. With the very data their company was too arrogant to see. And now, she owned the one thing none of them could survive without. A tech infrastructure firm that powered 70% of Blackwell's international operations. They didn't even know it. Not yet. She could shut them down in minutes. But she wasn't here for revenge. Not yet. No, tonight was about letting them talk. Letting them laugh. Letting them drown in their own self-importance before the curtain dropped. She reached into her clutch and pulled out her phone, checking the time. Just past 9 p.m. Which meant her attorney was already sending the email. The one that would shatter their confidence before dessert. The one that would pull funding from under Elliot's latest deal. Because Selah didn't just come to attend the party. She came to end it. And still, no one saw her. Not really. Until one of the younger execs, bright-eyed, eager, trying too hard, walked up to her with nervous curiosity. Excuse me. Sorry to bother you, he said, eyes darting. Are you, by any chance, Selah Ward? A hush fell nearby. Selah turned slowly, lips curling just slightly. Yes, she said. And that's when the room shifted. Because they had all laughed. But he had recognized her. And now, whispers were flying. People reaching for their phones. Googling her name. Putting together the pieces they should have seen all along. The woman in the wine-stained dress? She wasn't lost. She wasn't weak. She was the storm. And the winds were just beginning to rise. The whispers became a current. First, soft murmurs. Then, startled questions. Selah Ward. Isn't she? Wait, that's Selah Ward. The circle turned toward her, the very people who had smirked, sneered, and dismissed. Their eyes scanned her now, frantic, as if seeing her for the first time. Elliot Blackwell's assistant leaned into his ear, pale. Sir, there's a situation. He excused himself from the conversation, walking swiftly toward the hallway. Two of his partners followed, visibly tense. The mood of the gala fractured. Laughter thinned. Glasses clinked quieter. The musicians glanced at each other, unsure if they should keep playing. Selah stood in the same spot. Calm. Poise. Watching. Her phone buzzed. Done. One word. From her attorney. The email had been sent. Selah turned slowly, making her way to the marble stairs that overlooked the ballroom. She didn't need a MIC. She didn't need to raise her voice. Because power speaks without shouting. And they were already listening. She stood at the top of the stairs, black dress still stained with dried wine. Hair pinned in soft curls. Back straight. Hands calm. Good evening, she said. The room froze. Forks hovered midair. Conversations stopped mid-word. I know this wasn't on your program, she continued, but since I've already been noticed, I might as well introduce myself properly. Her eyes scanned the crowd. My name is Selah Ward. I'm the founder and CEO of Virix Infrastructure Group. A pause. If that name sounds unfamiliar, it shouldn't. We manage the back-end systems, cybersecurity, and server maintenance for over 70% of the operations under Blackwell International. Gasps. A few cursed under their breath. I came here tonight because I was invited by one of your junior partners, the only person in this firm who's ever treated me like a human being. Selah's voice didn't shake. I wasn't planning on speaking. I wasn't even planning on being seen. But when I arrived, I was laughed at, dismissed, and had wine thrown on me. Her hand rested gently over the stained fabric. Funny how people reveal who they are when they think you're no one. She stepped down one stair, still commanding the room. Effective immediately, my company is withdrawing all support from Blackwell's overseas expansion. You'll receive a formal notice tonight. Your systems will remain stable for 72 hours. After that, you're on your own. The silence that followed was heavy, cold, piercing. Some turned pale. Others whispered urgent calls to assistance. Elliot Blackwell himself reappeared at the side of the ballroom, flushed and furious. "Ms. Ward," he called out, "let's not be hasty. We can discuss this. We've always been open to partnerships." Selah met his gaze, unflinching. "You were never open to me. Not when I sat in your boardroom 2 years ago. Not when I offered you solutions. Not when you left my emails unanswered. And certainly not when your guests tonight poured drinks on my skin like I didn't matter." Another step down. "So no, Mr. Blackwell. This isn't haste. It's grace." She walked past him, her heels echoing like a gavel. No security stopped her. No one dared. Because she didn't crash their party. She owned the floor they stood on. And they knew it now. She left without slamming doors, without raising her voice, without needing revenge. But the empire that had overlooked her? It had just been shaken. And in her silence, she had made more noise than they ever could. Outside the gala, the air was cooler, quieter. Selah stood beneath a tall maple tree, letting the night breeze brush over her skin where the wine had dried. A young valet hesitated before approaching, eyes wide with something like awe. "Ms. Ward, your car's ready." She nodded. "Thank you." He opened the door for her with a reverence the others never had. But before she stepped in, her phone buzzed again. A message. From Jordan, the junior partner who had quietly invited her to the event. "They're all panicking. But you were incredible. I'm sorry they treated you like that." She smiled faintly. Typed back. "Don't be sorry. You're the only one who saw me before they had to." She slid into the back seat, the city lights stretching like a golden ribbon as the driver pulled away. Inside, she finally exhaled. Not from exhaustion, but from release. 17 years of doors closed in her face. Of meetings that never happened. Of voices talking over her, ideas stolen, ignored. But tonight, in a single moment, she had reclaimed her name. Not through revenge. Not with cruelty. But with strategy, precision, and purpose. 2 weeks later, the industry knew. Blackwell International had dropped in value. Several firms had pulled out of partnerships, following Selah's lead. Shareholders demanded explanations. News headlines read, "CEO Selah Ward silently reshapes tech power structure after gala incident." From dismissed guest to industry titan, the woman who made giants kneel. But Selah wasn't in the headlines for attention. She was back in her office, a space lined with warm wood, art by black creatives, and a large window overlooking the skyline. Her assistant knocked. "There's someone here to see you." "Says it's Elliot Blackwell." Selah didn't flinch. "Tell him I'm in a meeting." "With who?" She smiled softly, flipping open a folder. "With the little girl who was never invited. The one they laughed at. The one who never fit their mold." She looked out the window, her voice calm. "I have to remind her she doesn't need their rooms anymore. She built her own." In time, Selah launched a fund, Grace Capital, exclusively for underestimated founders, women, immigrants, black and brown entrepreneurs who had been ignored just like she was. She visited schools in underserved neighborhoods, walked through community centers, spoke to girls with big ideas and soft voices. "They won't always see you," she told them. "But if you stay ready, they'll never forget you." She didn't just leave the table they denied her. She built a hall with many tables. And no one sat alone. Sure, here's a shorter, sharper version. Never mock the quiet ones in the room. The girl you humiliated today? She just walked away with your biggest deal. And didn't spill a drop of her wine. If this story moved you, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories that inspire, challenge, and stay with you.